3. We're live. All right. Welcome to Groupp on Friday afternoon. Here
Yay!
in St. Louis, somewhere in North Carolina, and Vancouver, Washington.
There we go.
There we go. I did it. South of Vancouver, BC.
Yes.
We have Sean Brown here live with us today. Sean, thanks for you were on the podcast this week, and thank you for being here on another Friday of Groupp.
It was an awesome podcast. I had to come hang out with you, and unfortunately dragged Jenn along. So now it's all of us
I
hanging
can hear
together.
you.
Yes, drag Jen along.
Yeah,
I forgot
kicking
to
and
put my
screaming
headphones
the
in.
whole time.
Yes. So, Sean, thanks for being on here again. And, sorry, I got to adjust this over here. Okay, thanks for being on here again and sharing with us one more time. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Can you guys type who are joining us? Oh, and everyone who is joining us out here, thank you for being here with us on a Friday afternoon or morning, wherever you're at. Can you let us know that you hear us okay? That would be awesome. Just making sure that we're good there, and then we can get started. All right. Let's see. Adjust this over here. Okay. Thanks for being on here again and sharing with us. Muting that.
What's wrong?
There you are. You still there? Yes.
We're still here.
Everybody's still there. Okay.
You asked?
I need somebody to give me verbal confirmation that we are okay. All right. I guess we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. So, one last favor from our audience, please, at some point, will you subscribe to the channel so that you can continue getting notifications from us and that we can keep doing these. That would mean the world to me. So please, 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 if you don't mind, subscribe to that channel if you haven't already subscribed. So anyway, Sean, thank you for being with us here again. Jenn is also here as the co-host for Groupp.
Yay!
Jenn knows a lot more about senior photography than I do. And I was just telling Sean, actually, maybe I can ask questions today. I'm going out to shoot my first senior session ever in my entire life of the 30 some odd years that I've been a photographer. So I'm pretty excited about that. Sean, I'll just start, well, I guess, because I can ask you a question first. What can you tell me what to do?
Yeah. Don't put the camera on auto. Use aperture priority when in doubt. So no, I think the biggest thing with senior sessions is just to come into it with a lot of upbeat positivity, because that's what they feed off of, and that's what I do in all my sessions. And as long as you do that, they're going to warm up. And dude, half the seniors take better selfies than I do, so they know their angles and all that stuff. And really, as long as you come in with a positive attitude, that's honestly the biggest thing you can do. Fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that for 30 years, so it's I'm shooting at in the Arch Grounds, which is open now, and I'm looking forward to it because I've never actually done a live shoot there other than a couple of family pictures, so it should be fun. Anyway, you are going to talk to us about, and I love this topic, about living your life through photography. And in all my years of being a photographer, working at WPPI, being at conferences, one of the reasons that we get into being a photographer is the life that it affords us. So I love this subject, and on my side, it has provided me, so much over the years, both from an artistic perspective, but everything. So to tell us what you're going to talk to us about today.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with a little bit about my backstory and how I got into photography, because that, I think, sets the stage for it, where everyone says, oh, I have a really good job, or I don't want to give up such and such in an effort to pursue photography. And I really found myself at those crossroads as well. So rewind, however many years ago it was, like 7 years ago, when I first started my photography business. I was a freshman in college and never thought that I was going to be a photographer. Like, literally had a Canon Rebel, still have it. I need to sell it. So if anyone is in the market for Canon Rebel T3i, I am selling that along with a kit lens. But I started on, the basic gear, and it was just my travel photography. And like, that's what I did, was just have my camera. When I went on a trip, instead of buying a souvenir, my souvenir was creating one really great image that I could then, share with people, print out, and all that stuff. And it evolved into one of my brother's friends saying, "Hey, I'm a senior and I need senior portraits, and would you mind taking my senior portraits?" And of course, I knew like nothing about senior portraits, mind you. Like, my concept of what portraits were you open up the aperture as big as it can possibly go, blur out everything in the photo, including the subject, and you're good to go. And so, I shot that first session, and I fell in love with not really the photography aspect as much as I did being able to interact with these people, to be able to share their stories, hear what their excitement is about the years to come. And I said, you know what, I really, really want to do this. And so over the years, when I was in college as a biochemistry major, like I was going to be a cardiologist, I was going to go on a medical school. Like, I had the path set out. And it was about my junior year where I remember sitting down, and I had registered for the MCAT, which is the admissions test for medical schools. And over the past couple of years, I had really devoted a bunch of time to building my business, building up the brand, marketing, and
while you were in college.
While I was in college.
Wow.
So I was basically, full-time student, still managing grades, because at this point I thought I was going to medical school, so I needed to have good grades. I was doing extracurriculars and basically everything you need to get into medical school.
Right.
While building that business. So, when people say, well, I'm working 40 hours a week, like, I was working 40 hours a week plus probably putting in another 40 building the business all at the same time. So I feel the struggle, and I've been there.
Right.
It was my junior year.
Okay.
I canceled out the MCATs and
oh wow,
basically decided that I was going to go all into photography. And basically took a dive off the deep end, said, I'm either going to sink or swim real fast, and stepped out of college. And basically by working those 4 years, 80 hours a week building the business in addition to school, stepped out right out of college into a 6-figure photography business, which I'm super grateful for. But I know that a lot of people are in the same position where they want that freedom. They don't want to have to work weekends. They want to be able to travel for, I take probably 5-6 weeks off just to travel and vacation every year. And people want that. They want to spend time with their kids and make their own schedule. And photography is that avenue for them. And, I've seen it. I had the safe route all mapped out, and many of them do too, where they're in a 9-to-5 corporate job or, doing their own thing that's comfortable, but they're just looking for a little bit more. And so I think that this whole conversation is probably going to be centered around, how do you take your fears around wanting to do this full time and make it a reality? How do you face those fears? How do you look within yourself, look at others and say comfortably, this is what I'm doing. If you're not okay with it, that's fine.
Right.
But it's what I want to do, and that's what's going to make me happy. And I think that's what this conversation will hopefully evolve around.
Well, so there's a lot to unpack there. From being in college, and I'm laughing because I'm like, you were like the Rick Rubin of photography, which I'm dating myself a little bit if you don't know that reference, but basically Rick Rubin was a music producer who, created the Beastie Boys and Run DMC and some of these guys, but he did it out of his dorm hotel room. He did it that way. So, you're not the first person to, get a spark to do something and, build their career from their college dorm room. So my first question to you is, for younger people out there, your parents are probably stoked they were going to have a doctor in the family and they're going on to do this. And I know that Gary Fong has a similar history in that, from what I remember as well. He was going to be, working to be a white collar, doctor or something like that. And, I don't know. I think that your parents are probably very supportive, but I'm curious, how did you navigate that?
Yeah. So I am so thankful that my parents are supportive, and, you're right. I think that it's one thing, and that's kind of the stigma that you have to be okay with, is you're going into either a career that people think is the coolest in the world in being a doctor and being able to work with people and save lives and, create this groundbreaking research or whatnot, if that's what you're interested in, to the persona of a starving artist. And, okay, is this actually going to work, or is this,
Yeah.
just a hobby?
Right.
And so you have to be okay, first off, with, I think the hardest part for me was not only just being okay with me not doing what I thought I was going to do, and turned out, I wasn't actually as passionate about it as I was other things in the world, but you have to be okay with those who you love and your friends potentially not being okay with it. And I think that that's the most difficult part, because it's very easy to say, I'm a cardiologist, or I'm a doctor, or, I'm a lawyer. I work in a, high paying executive corporate job. It's very different to say, I'm a photographer. There's just a different label that goes around with that. So I think you really have to be very okay with, just with that persona, that kind of stigma attached to it.
Right. And not look back and kind of take it from there. So you built this business, and I do think, I can certainly recommend to other people, like when you're building this business, to have something, that else that you're doing while you're doing it. Building a photo business is a time consuming, long, there's no fast track to it. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, I think you're exactly right. It's a lot of hours. And, I look back at my 4 years in college, and it was a lot of sacrifice. Like, I lost, relationships were strained because of it. It was friendships that I didn't get to see them as much because I knew that I had to do such and such to get to where I was going. It was a lot of sleepless nights. And, my junior year, I really didn't sleep that much. It was probably go to bed at 2 a.m. and wake up 7, maybe with enough time to hopefully make it to the 8 a.m. class on time and that sort of thing. And it's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that that's ultimately the biggest gut check of if you actually want to do this. Because if you're willing to do that, I think you're going to make it in the world as a photographer. I think it's the people that say, I just want the easy route. Like, show me what's going to happen. They want to be justified in what they're doing, but they only are going to be able to do that if they can see that kind of that light at the end of the tunnel. And some of the times there's not that light at the end of the tunnel, but it's very time consuming. And like you said, it's a lot of hard work. And so I think you have to be okay with that part of the process in order to actually come out at the end of the tunnel, where once you start going, it seems like that light at the end of the tunnel starts coming a little bit faster than when you're in the middle point. It's just a matter of turning that corner and you see it, versus just being that close to the end of the tunnel, not reaching it.
Well, and I think that, with any business from the start, it is super helpful. You have to have that hustle. You have to have that passion. It doesn't matter whether it's photography or not. And so I'm curious, did you finish school, or?
I did.
You
yeah.
did? Okay.
Yeah. I graduated with a BS in biochemistry that I'll probably never use.
But, and I'm curious, there's so much debate right now about whether or not my camera feed just went off. Hang on one second. Whether or not, well, it looks like my battery's dead, so I'm going to have to talk to you for a second. I'm just going to switch my screens here to just you. And there's that dead battery again, which I should have learned from last week. But anyway, from graduating college, there's a lot of discussion right now about, whether or not you should go to college, and from a younger people's perspective, whether college is afforded or not, does make sense or not. And, it makes me wonder, what your thoughts are about, going to school. I mean, you have a college degree, and, for younger people now, like with my own kids, I wonder, whether or not spending the money on college is worth it. I listen to Gary Vee a lot, and from his perspective, it's a giant waste of money. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it comes down to the field. I really do. As photographers, do I need a college degree to do what I do? No, honestly,
Right.
I don't. And were there things that I learned? Jen, you're muted. If you're trying to chime in, we're not hearing you.
True.
Sorry. I muted it because my air conditioning unit gets really loud once in a while when it's like draining something. Anyway, I didn't finish college. Like, I went to Ohio State, but I didn't graduate. Everything I've done for my business has been completely on my own and like separate education.
Yeah. So I think, it really depends on the field, in my opinion, where obviously if you're going for wanting to go into medical school, like I was, like, that's the only route. Like, you either go to college or you just don't become a doctor. Like, there's no choice.
Sure.
But you look at other industry, photography as a creative field. I learned some things that I implement in my business, but as a whole, pretty much everything I do in my business, I either learned from past job experience, kind of working sales and implementing the psychology that Apple uses in their products from previous retail experience. That's been a big guider in how I approach sales, but everything else has been self-taught. I didn't even do that well in one of the art photography classes I took because they wanted to do like these weird concepts that I just had no desire to do. And so I think that there are merits to going to school. And, I think it's always good to have a degree where 10 years down the road, hell, I might decide that I don't want to be a photographer, but the job that I want potentially requires having a 10-year or a 4-year degree or something like that. So I think there are merits to having it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to go into debt to accomplish it? I don't think that you should. If you have any inclination that you want to pursue photography, by all means, go to a community college, get your stuff taken care of at a very low end, just so you can experiment around. Because I think that experimenting with what you want to do, had I not experimented with photography, I wouldn't be here. But it was only because, I wasn't worried about being so in debt from college where, I had a little bit of savings, but I was also using what I did make through photography to basically pay for school as I went. So I think that you have to understand your financial circumstance and really determine if it's right for you with your ultimate career goals.
Yeah, and I definitely think like business or marketing degrees, that's what I tell, like when I have a lot of seniors who are interested in photography, and I tell them don't go to
Don't do marketing is one of them, and we'll just go on a rant here for a second. Business, yes, but marketing is the most outdated degree in the entire business world, in my opinion, because they're not teaching anything that's actually freaking relevant to running a business right now. Like, I'm just going to say it how it is.
You're talking to the girls who didn't finish college, so I don't know what they teach in marketing degrees, but I'm like, don't bother with a photography degree. I taught my intern who ended up going to school for photography. She was like, I've learned more from you interning with you than I have in 2 years so far at school. And it was like 6 months before they let them touch the cameras, and that kind of thing. So I'm like, don't go for photography, go for business. That's really what you need, because as we know, it's 10% taking pretty photos and 90% knowing how to run a business and be profitable and market yourself and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that's always my opinion on it.
Oh, business, absolutely. But marketing, I mean, like, they're maybe teaching 2% of what you're actually going to use in marketing today. You can know all the KPIs that you want, but if you don't know how to actually, market on Facebook or the understanding of why you need to be doing certain things in social media these days, and how to connect with this new generation where they're probably not even teaching information on Gen Z is the last time I taught. And that's what the world is going to be revolving around for the next 20 years in terms of marketing psychology. So yeah, business, yes, marketing.
I'm sorry I said it, Sean.
It's a cop-out degree, in my opinion. But sorry to any marketing majors.
Degree.
I clearly owe you a drink next time I see you. I'm sorry I brought up marketing. I know that's your jam. So we'll leave the marketing teaching up to you.
They're not going to teach you TikTok marketing in college?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's useful stuff that you learn in marketing classes, and I've taken a handful of marketing classes in my year, but I just feel like so much of it is outdated to, the concepts work, but in terms of how do you actually implement it into business these days, I think, you're much better, like Jen said, learning on the job if that's your goal.
I mean, for me, and it was a long time ago, so times were different, but I had lots of photographer friends who didn't go to college, and they were out there assisting in New York City. For me, college, gave me a foundation that I was able to build on. But more importantly, I think for me, I really was not mature enough to hit the world. Going out, I wanted to be a fashion photographer when I first started. So getting out and shooting fashion just was not going to happen, even going out and assisting back in the day. So for me, it was about, kind of growing up a little bit, which really, really helped, because going from, being this, skate punk rat kid from the suburbs of New York City to art school in New York was a jarring experience, and it really helped me grow up quite a bit. And essentially maybe that helped you as well, but we, back then it was a state university school, and I think my tuition was $2,000 a semester. It's not like that anymore. And even still, the state colleges, and I commuted back and forth, so I still lived at home and I went back and forth. And I think that experience really made me grow up in the sense that, I didn't go to school to party. I went there to work, and it was hard. So when I got out of college, I was ready to get to work because my incentive was getting out of the house and moving on. So, we all have to have those goals. So you built this business, and you were working from your dorm room. You were shooting, I'm assuming. And I think one of the hard parts with all of this is that, we're building a photography business. Not only we're learning how to shoot, and we have to do business at the same time. It's super, super hard. So it's tough, especially I think with photography, having to learn your craft at the same time you're learning to market your business. I definitely think you can offer some advice on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, your business is 90% not shooting. 10% of the time is actually spent shooting, but that doesn't mean you don't need to be good at your craft. And so what I think, in terms of just finding out your style and everything, you just have to get out there and shoot. Like there's no really other way to do it other than to experiment and try new things and get out there and figure out what you like. Right. But doing it at the same time is extremely time intensive. Sure. And I think that, if there's some sort of, education that you can take to understand what you need to do in terms of what to do in marketing, or how to, run a business better, there are a lot more courses out there that I think are more beneficial in terms of that than there are, here's how to use off-camera flash a little bit better, because I think that those are things you can do while you're sitting down. Mm-hmm. Learning off-camera flash, you have to go out and actually do it before you're really going to learn. So I think that there are ways that you can expedite the process and kind of bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go a little bit easier, and education is a way to do that. But in terms of, how to do it at the same time, it just takes time. Like that's the story. Like you just kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, we have a question from JJ. She's asking, what course or learning recommendations would you have for marketing to Gen Z and their parents?
Well, we've got the Groupp, so there are tons of people on there. I forget who it is. Someone has a great book on Gen Z, and I'll try and remember the name of it throughout this.
We can add in the comments later.
So there's a really good book on marketing to Gen Z. But the biggest thing that I would do is, if you're looking for a better understanding of Gen Z, is to just get out there on social media and see how they're interacting and what types of content they're consuming. So I think that's actually the best teacher of them all, is to see what they're looking to. So, the entire time when I pivoted to vlogging as part of my business, well, the main reason I did that was because I saw that Gen Z they're not watching cable TV anymore. So they are not watching, as many movies as they were. They're watching YouTube and Netflix, and they're resonating with all these Instagram influencers who are now engaging with them. They're commenting back, they're posting to their story, they're seeing an inside peek in their life. And so I said, okay, well, if that's the content they like, then I need to start doing that in my business too. And so I think that there are ways to see, you know, how they're communicating, how they're interacting. And I think that's actually the biggest indicator of them all of how to market to Gen Z is just look at what they like and see how you can implement that into your business.
Oh, that's cool advice. I'm curious, and this is kind of a random question. What do you feel your differences are? What's the differences between the Gen Y and the Gen Z generations?
So I think the biggest difference in my opinion is the level of connection and creation that Gen Z wants to have in a business. And I think that that's largely been sparked by access to creators. Because if you look at a lot of, like I mentioned, who they look to, Instagram influencers, YouTubers, they all have some level of input into the direction of their brands now. Whether you like it or not, they're solely based off likes and, you know, upvotes and shares on social. That's what they're driven by. So if they produce good content that resonates with their audience, then the creators know that they want to produce more of content that does that. If a piece of content flops, then they know not to produce that. And so I think that what they've really become accustomed to, Z, that the millennial generation didn't really have, because it was really just kind of taking off in 2008, 2009 with social media, kind of mass scale. You didn't have as much input into the creation process and the brand as you do now. And so I think that millennial or Gen Z almost expects to be a part of that brand process, a part of your brand to an extent, and be able to create with you, to be able to post things that resonate with them. So, you know, this is the most active social group ever in terms of, you know, social justice and that sort of thing. Like climate change is huge on their minds. Racial equality, especially right now, is huge on their minds. And so these are causes that, you know, let's even take a more photography centric aspect where, you know, they don't want full faces of makeup. Like this generation embraces everyone being who they are. So they don't need to look like a billboard. And so the sooner that we understand that as photographers and learn to implement that into our business to some extent, I think is the biggest thing we can do, because that's the biggest difference. Is they just want to be a part of your brand, be able to share what's on their mind, and be a part of creating that content and that message with you as a photographer, or with a brand that they hope to be a part of and, you know, patron.
Well, I mean, listening to that, it's encouraging to be able to have, I mean, as photographers, we love feedback. We love getting likes. We love knowing that our work is good or that people are appreciating what we do. So this is encouraging that we can get that feedback from them, where you're right. I don't think we saw that same kind of feedback from the Gen Y generation. You know, on that note, with everything that's going on in today's world, I pray that the Gen Z generation can make some change in our world in a positive way. It is terrible what's going on right now, and we need some change. I just hope that the Gen Z, are they old enough to vote now? Gen Y generation?
Yeah, Gen Z should be.
Gen Z, get out and
this upcoming
vote
election
and make a difference in this year's election. So, and you know, let's hope that they are empowered to make things change. So, I think we're going to bring on a guest. I don't know if we're ready to do that, but Jen, do you have anything while maybe Sean can make that happen, or you and I can tap dance at the same time?
So I'll chat with you, Jay, because I think he's going to send the link. But yeah, like I love what Sean is talking about watching what the kids are consuming and what they're reacting to and sharing and things like that. And I know you and I have talked over the last couple of weeks about the actress that I just photographed. So 2 weeks ago, two weeks ago, I think it is now. Today, actually, I photographed one of the lead actresses from Sweet Magnolias, the #1 show on Netflix right now, and I've been following her she came to me for headshots like a year and a half ago, so we've been keeping in contact and everything, and I've been following her and watching her fans react to her, and she's going Instagram live and saying they're asking her questions and they love when she responds and that kind of thing and reaching out, and it's just really interesting. This is like the first, I guess, I've always kept in touch with my teenagers, with all my seniors and stuff on social media, but this is the first time I've really kind of dived deep into it, because when she goes live, I follow, I watch her and I chat with her and stuff like that, and we're getting ready to do a shoot in a couple of weeks. We're going to go downtown and shoot, and we're going to go Instagram live. Both of us are, for our followers and things like that, and it's just going to be, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that unfolds. But it's only lately, because I also know the Madison Bailey, who plays Kiara in Outer Banks. My boys trained with her with their acting coach for years, so I know her as well. So I've been paying attention to that as well, and so I've been a lot more involved and paying a lot more attention. And although I'm doing it to support the girls because I know them, I'm also learning so much more than I expected I would about how, what the trends are that the kids are doing and where they're following, who they're listening to, and that kind of thing. So I love what Sean was saying about that. I think he nailed it, definitely. It just took me longer to figure out because I'm a lot older than him. So,
well, and along those same lines, so what you're saying is, from an older perspective, is that we should be letting our eyes learn from younger people about how they're doing things and be a student in that way. And I am often these days asking my 13-year-old daughter, hey, show me some TikTok videos I want to see who you're following. I want to see, although on the Kiara side, I'm not super stoked because I really don't want her watching that show at this point yet. So not a thank you to Kiara for that. But the writing on that show is not her fault. But I digress. It is a balance. It is a balance with kids and all that. But learning through them, it is so interesting watching what she's watching. And she never watches TV. Neither one of my kids watch TV anymore, or ever have. They grew up on YouTube, and I'm really curious to see, what they're gonna watch. They watch movies, they watch YouTube, and now it's TikTok. Before that was Musical.ly, and before that was Vine. I really did like Vine, though. I thought Vine was awesome. I know that TikTok is a similar version of that, but it's not the same. So, anyway. But a lot of those guys, spent their time cutting their teeth on that and doing really well on TikTok now, right? So, yeah. Anyway, we're still looking for your questions. And do we have that guest? I haven't seen her here.
Okay. She said that she was clicking the link, so
it's not working.
Well, then we're going to select another guest.
So everyone knows we're going to do these YouTubes every week, and we're going to try and bring a guest on to ask questions. For those of you who are watching now, you can reach out to us. We'd love to have you as a guest one week. A couple weeks, we're going to have Andrew Funderburg on, and we're going to be bringing on lots of people who you guys are very, very familiar with, and it's a great opportunity to ask questions. So. Anyway, I'm for first time at a loss for words. Erica, we can definitely choose you. Thank you for actually typing something in there, and we can move on. So we're about 30 minutes in, and Sean has been sharing with us. If any of you guys that have been joining, Sean has been sharing with us his how he started his career and giving advice on people who are new to starting their career about, how to get things started and the passion that it takes to pull things together, and really focusing on business, which Sean, if you know anything about him, Sean definitely seems to be very hyper-focused on the business aspect of it first. And so many of us get started in our careers but because we just absolutely love photography, and we absolutely love, we're creative people. That's why we do it in the first place. And I wish that I had, in art school, that my biggest thing with art school is that they don't teach any business classes, and you don't learn anything about creating a business. And, for example, my brother was a painter, which is even a harder path, I think, than photography. But he was a painter, and when he went to do his senior show, he didn't even know how to stretch his own canvases. And my father, I remember, who's a blue collar dad, was an electrician by trade, embarrassed my brother by screaming at the professor because he didn't know how to stretch his own canvases. And they spent the weekend stretching, but there was no business classes. There was nothing there. So I do, and I really wish, and it took me years to finally start digging in with business plans and just any kind of roadmaps. And we have so many more tools now than we did years ago to create those. Sean, so while we're waiting, talk to us about business and creating those initial roadmaps. Actually, let's not start there. Let's start, you're in business for a while, and maybe you haven't built a business plan or done things like that, and you're kind of struggling a little bit. Take us to that chapter.
Yeah, well, I think let's break it down. Let's pick a topic within that, because there's a lot. I mean, there are a million different things. So
Jason would like you to build his entire business for him right now, please. That'd be great. And
Yes.
if you could do it before his senior shoots this afternoon, he'd appreciate it.
He would love that, right?
I would like to shoot 2 sessions today, and I would like to come home and have 12 more booked. Go.
Yeah. So I think the very first thing is, when anybody talks about starting a business, the very first thing that I go to is brand. Because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Is if you don't have a strong brand, you won't be able to market and you won't be able to sell. And all that a business is sales and leads. So if you aren't generating leads, you're not going to generate sales. But you're not going to generate leads without having a brand. So it kind of is that foundational pillar. So the very first thing that I say, even before setting up a business plan of how many seniors you're going to book, how much you're going to be priced at, what your schedule or anything like that is going to look like, the very first thing I say is, okay, what have you done to start building your brand? And just for for an actionable item, what you can do is narrow it down to like the 3 to 5 differentiating factors. And what you want to do with that is you say, okay, well, here's what I plan to do in my business, or here's what I'm doing in my business, and here's why I'm different than, so-and-so down the street. And what you want to do is you want to be as vocal as you can about those 3 to 5 differentiating factors. Because if your clients don't know why you're different than the photographer down the street, well, guess what they're going to determine who they're going with based off of? Price or deliverables. And so now we're in a game of, everybody's a photographer. Everyone has access to a camera. Digitals are basically, what they want. And so if a photographer down the street's offering the digitals, and I don't know why you're different than them, well, they're just going to go off the cheapest photographer.
Sure.
And they're going to go off the photographer that offers them exactly what they want, which is the digitals. So especially if you want to build a business that not only is actually sustainable, rather than needing to shoot 100, 200 seniors a year at $450 a piece to actually make a living, that after taxes and time and all that stuff, then what you need to do is you need to be focused on your brand. And what you need to do is be able to communicate why you're different, what it is about you and your business that makes them want to go to that photographer. And then you need to be able to tie that back to your why. And your why needs to go back to not just why you became a photographer, because if that, so, it'd be, I like taking photos and decided that, being a cardiologist wasn't for me. My why is very different. My why is, I believe in capturing your authentic personality and building self-confidence and empowering every single senior that I work with. That's my why. And that's a lot different than I'm a mom with a camera. So I think first off is, figuring out how to build your why, figuring out how to communicate your 3 to 5 differentiating factors, and just figuring those out to start with. And that's going to be, I think, the very first starting place before you can even formulate a business plan. Because if you don't have a brand, you don't know why you're doing what you're doing. It's very hard to understand what it also takes to run a business if you don't have that brand.
Right. And, I think you hit on really sales and leads. That's business.
Yeah.
Bottom line, sales and leads, or leads and sales, right? And, building that out, is everything. And, for those of you who are discouraged, we're in the best time in the world right now with so many opportunities to find those leads and sales, right? Before it was penny savers or magazine ads or places that were super expensive. Now we have all these micro businesses that we can go out and create transactions easily, more than ever before. Unfortunately, there's millions of us trying to do the same thing, which doesn't make it easy as well. So cutting through that noise is really the hard part, which is where your brand comes through and, kind of goes from there. So can you offer any advice in finding that why and the brand and, stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that first off, your why, you have to ask, okay, what is it about photography that makes me excited? And you have to understand why it is that you do what you do, because we all do it for a reason and we all know what it is. We just aren't very good at actually saying why that is. So a lot of us know what we do. And I'm going to kind of riff off Simon Sinek's Circle of Why. That's a great TED Talk if you haven't watched that. And he says, basically sums it down to people are really good at telling what they do or how they do it. We all know that we take photos and we all know that we do it with high-end professional equipment. We all know that. We don't necessarily know why we do it, or we don't communicate that well. And so what you need to do is, if you're a mom and the whole reason was, why you got into photography was because you loved being able to document, family sessions and watch them grow up over the years and be able to have these portraits that of your own, you saw your own family be documented through the years and how quickly everyone changes. Well, that should be in your why. If you're a wedding photographer and you have the most awesome marriage in the world and you want to capture that for other clients, well, your why isn't just that that you wanted to take great wedding photos. Your why is that you know how important it is to have an album of beautiful photos sitting on your coffee table of the person that you fell in love with however many years back, looking at that 10, 20 years down the road and how important that is. And you want to be a part of their day to make sure that their memories are remembered. So you have to dive deep. And I think that you just have to look within yourself of why why you are a photographer in the first place. It's not just because we take good photos. We do it because of a reason. I go back to the beginning of the episode. I do it because I love the excitement and being able to see the future that my seniors are so excited about. I love, being able to connect the mom and the senior in this time where this is the last time that they're going to be seeing their kid in this environment before they go off to school, before they go work, before they leave the house. And so there are a lot of things that you have to kind of encapsulate into your why, but it comes down to really being authentic with yourself, of knowing why you do what you do. And I think that it has to come from looking deep within yourself.
And that process can be really hard and exhausting. And I know over the years, and I didn't mean this to be kind of a plug, but it's also one of the reasons why I created the Groupp to begin with. And I had hired, so if you're at that point in your career, it is time to hire a coach or somebody to talk to on a regular basis that can help you. If you can't afford a coach, you need to find somebody who's qualified to talk to you and help you dig that out, because I know very few people who have been able to get that out. And I had hired, oh God, my camera run away, didn't it again? There I am. I think my battery's about to die. So Jen, you'll take over. But anyway, I'm sorry, people. I'm so sorry. It's like, grandpa with the camera. But the coach, I hired Jeff Yoakum many, many years ago. and he helped me see what I wanted to do with my I Heart New York sessions in New York City. And once I had figured it out, how that was going to go, the clarity that I gained from that was just, it's like a 747 taking off. And it just cleared the way for everything. On the same lines, I was listening to Donald Miller, who does StoryBrand. I don't know if, for those of you who don't listen, StoryBrand is a great podcast, great information every week. And one of the people on it was like, it's the same old story, like if you're in an elevator and it's dropping 15 stories, if you can't give your elevator pitch before it hits the ground to talk about your business, nobody's going to buy your stuff. So it's the same thing. And really finding that is so, so important. And it's with any business for that matter. So digging into that and, finding a coach to do this was something that was so helpful for me. And I'm lucky, and many of us are lucky, that have lots of people to talk to in this industry. But when I was first getting started, I didn't have those people to talk to. I didn't have that network. And then later on, I didn't want to talk to my friends anymore because they were not useful. So at some point I had to say to myself, okay, I need to spend some money on getting somebody who's only focused on me and not about them and these conversations. And that's where like this group thing came out of, where at WPPI, I had always done, all of these portfolio sessions and anything I could do to kind of create things that were smaller. And they were always so much more helpful to it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go to big conferences. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be out there in the community. You should do that too. But at some point you need to dial it back and find somebody who's going to help you. And the group does that. There's lots of people out there that can do it, or you can find it on your own. So anyway, doesn't look like we have somebody coming on. I could just post the link in the YouTube chat.
We can just post someone from the chat, and we'll just pick somebody. Russian roulette. Yeah.
So I think Erica, you had asked to come on, so here you go. I'm going to post the link to this Google chat. The first person that gets
it's the Erica, there. I think it is. I already messaged her,
yeah.
So she's ignoring my messages.
I just need to find that. My eyes are going to be all over the place. Jen, do you have it?
I think I might.
Just put it there in the YouTube. There it is. Oh, you got it. Put it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all are faster than me.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
So. I also cheated. I already had it copy and pasted.
Oh, well, there you go.
Copy and pasted here. Oh, it's too many. The link is too long. Hang on.
Sure, I can message it to her on Facebook. Hold on.
Oh, that's funny.
Let me go back to...
Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'll message it to her.
Yeah. So we made it 47 minutes without talking about the coronavirus.
And you just ruined it, Jay.
I know. I'm sorry.
About that one, Jason.
That link is only for us, unfortunately. Oh wait, let me try that link. Hang on. Oh, this link will work. Yes.
I just messaged Erica the link for the meet thing.
All right, there's the link, people. Join us live.
Who will come on? Nobody knows.
Who will come on?
It's like a really fun game of roulette.
Every time I think about that chat roulette from the 90s, but that's a whole other thing. Sean, you probably have.
Yeah, let's not talk about your story from the other day.
So coronavirus, right?
So coronavirus. Coronavirus. So when will you be able to get out and shoot? You got to be getting some guidelines at this point.
Yeah. So we were supposed to get the all clear in my county last Tuesday-ish, and of course the Friday before we had it's now like an 85-person outbreak at a food processing plant that is somehow still operational, which blows my mind how you can have an outbreak and still be processing foods. But basically our waiver for our county is completely on hold. So, at this rate, hopefully August 1st.
Well,
all right,
there's
Erica's
Erica.
Here.
Erica,
welcome.
well, we can't talk to her because she's wearing a USC shirt, so we don't support the Trojans.
Oh, you know that I'm a big Irish fan, right?
Go Irish!
Go Irish!
Fight on.
I didn't know that, Jason. My
Fight
brother
on.
went to Notre Dame. I didn't know that.
Oh, really? My wife went to Notre
Yeah.
Dame.
Yeah, so we got some Notre Dame alums.
Yes. Oh, should we bring Jessica on too? Sure.
Why not?
Wow, the two
Speaking of
people I
party.
messaged and they actually came
There
on.
they are.
There we
So
go.
welcome, you guys. Welcome.
Jessica, what's wrong?
I was not expecting this, and I look
Hi.
a hot mess.
You look great. You look
Look
great.
at Sean. We're not judging. It's
Yeah,
fine.
we're not judging at all.
No judging
I'm
here.
trying to redo my office and everything, and I'm like, okay, my bad.
As your
Oh,
sign
good.
says, no bad vibes here.
Yes, no bad vibes. Okay, Erica, since you were joining first, do you have a question?
No, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I came because Sean invited me. So
Nice. Welcome. So tell
Thank you.
us about yourself. We don't know each other.
okay. So, my name's Erica, and I have been I've been a photographer for about 15 years. Before that, I was a lawyer. Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, I hear a bunch of people in the background. That's why. It sounds like a party.
Huh.
So
No party here.
before
except for us.
being okay, there, I hear a party somewhere.
I mean, normally my dogs would be barking.
Oh
That would
yeah,
be the
that's
only
what I'm
bark
hearing.
here.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hearing Jessica.
Yeah.
I'm hearing Jessica.
So you're not here.
Um.
If you still have your YouTube window open, that's probably why.
Oh. Okay. Oh, I know. Now I'm hearing my voice. Okay, so I should just keep talking and ignore my voice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I talked about how I was a lawyer, and then I've been taking photos. Of course, started with kids and families, and then eventually teens and seniors. And about a year ago, I joined Senior Year Magazine Group, which has been amazing. And through that, I went to the Sync conference in February, and Sync introduced me to a world. I met Jenn there. I met so many people there. It was the best conference ever. Like every day, all day, learning seniors and everything. And ever since Sync, Jason, I've heard a lot of your educational podcasts. I've joined Sean's group, and he's been coaching me, and I actually had to backtrack to come up with my why. And I've been spending this time in quarantine, just conference after conference after conference. So many people have come out and been doing these free conferences that I've just learned so much. And yes, it's about the business. I think I've had the photography, but not the business part down. So I'm really excited about that.
What's a business question you have for us?
Oh, I didn't know. Am I supposed to have a question?
Oh no, but no. It's okay. But I think that's really wonderful. That there aren't a lot in my experience with conferences and trade shows and stuff like that. There aren't a lot of people who are so far in like you were, and then decide I need to go somewhere to the next level.
That's true.
I was actually one of those people who had never attended a trade show or anything for many, many years. I was 10 or 12 years in before I attended DWF conferences and Imaging USA, and then finally went to PPI as a wedding photographer. So I think it's really awesome that you're taking this time now to develop your business, and I want to stay in touch with you because I really want to see where you go now with the experience that you have. So can you hear me? I feel like you can't hear me.
Yes, I hear
okay,
you.
good.
I just hear the party in the background.
I want to see where you go with it, because now you've taken the time. And along those same lines, I think it's awesome that so many people are taking advantage of this quarantine time to take all this education that's out there right now. I mean, we're going to keep going after things open up, but I'm curious, with all the free education that's out there right now, how much things will change. Like I'm so like the creativity in our industry, what's going to come out of this and what you're going to do after this thing and everything opens up. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to see what you do as well. It's going to be awesome.
I think I'd say two things. One is that somebody once said to me, like, a lot of people can take photos, and I think it was Joel Grimes, like, a lot of people can take photos, but it's the people that are good business people that are going to really succeed. And I think with this downtime, a lot of people are sitting and doing nothing or cleaning their house. But I think that the people that are really using the time for their business, not that everybody should, but the people that are really focusing on it and using the time productively are the people that are going to survive and make it through the dust. And I'm really hopeful because I just announced my model teams, and I'm getting tons of, they're almost full already. I have a teen one and a senior one. So I'm very late in the game, but I'm excited about it. And everybody on my team is excited about it.
You're not late to the game. You're just on your own timeline.
And Sean, thank you for everything. Sean is amazing. He's an amazing mentor, and I like being in his group. It's great.
Right on.
Well, thank you for being a part of it.
I'm excited about it.
Oh, I love it. It's a love fest. Jessica, tell us what you're doing under quarantine.
I feel like I came in so late, so I'm just trying to catch up on what's going on. Quarantine, literally, I've been doing nothing, just trying to catch up, get caught up on, things. It was very slow for me, things have been slow for me as far as like booking, etc. goes. But I have had a lot of orders. That's one of the things I've been wanting to talk to Sean about, because I do things a little bit differently. And I want to change that, because I just up front, I accept, or I make them pay the, like my booking retainer session fee for sessions. And then I don't have like a set time for them to place an order. So my orders will straggle in after Christmas, like around tax time and stuff. But then quarantine slowed everything down. But now into the school year, people are placing orders. So I've just been sitting at my desk catching up on that type of stuff and trying to kick myself in gear to do some website updates and pricing updates and stuff like that. Quarantine's been slow for me.
Well, and Jenn is also amazing with sales. So maybe we can tag team this.
Yeah. Do you want to start, Sean, or you want me to?
No, you can kick it off.
So Jessica, are you doing in-person sales, or are you doing online galleries? It sounds like online galleries.
Yeah, I have. It's just, it's how I started out. I would love to go to IPS. I moved from a small town about 3 years ago, well, going on 4 years, to a larger town. So my client base is mostly at home.
Right.
And I'm not far from home. I'm only like an hour and 30 minutes at the most. So I do have a lot of clients that come here. So I have thought about, setting up a spot, my studio redo, which is not really a studio, it's just a home office. But I've thought about setting up and doing IPS and having them come to me. But I feel bad asking my clients to come back another hour and a half. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure. You have a couple of options. First of all, where are you located? Because you sound like you're probably not far away from where I am.
I'm in the South. I'm in Memphis.
Okay, good. I'm in North Carolina. That's why I asked. So
yeah.
So I worked out of a home office for years before I got my studio. And I did in-person sales. I did consultations, in-person sales, everything out of my home office. So for me, it's really important, not just, you have a couple of, and we'll get into a couple of options on how to get your clients to do the in-person sales, because you're worried about them having to drive an hour and a half back. But you have a couple of, I want you to get in the mindset though, that you're doing this as a service to them, because what happens is when you give them an online gallery, they go home and it's this thing hanging over their head. next thing on their to-do list. And they're like, oh gosh, we still have to sit down and pick out pictures. They don't know what the best medium is. They don't know what size they should get. They don't know anything about it. They're not the experts. It's kind of like you giving somebody, if you're like a kitchen designer and you give them a catalog and you're like, here, go home and pick out your cabinets and your countertops and let me know what you want, with no guidance. And that's what you're doing to them. So it's an extra service for them. You're benefiting them and obviously yourself too, because you're going to generate higher sales from it. But you're benefiting them by sitting down with them and walking them through it. Now, as far as the hour-and-a-half drive and all that you're worried about, I mean, I have clients drive that far to me all the time. It's never an issue. They'll come for a consult, they come for the shoot, and they come back for the in-person sales session, and they don't complain ever because they appreciate the extra service that they get. However, if they don't want to come back, I've also done things like I have people who are in from out of town or something like that. They will come in, they will shoot. I tell them to go to lunch. They come back 90 minutes later and we do the ordering session. All I do, dump my card, call the images. I don't retouch anything before my clients see it. So, you know, I believe in, as Bob Davis would say, I like to pre-touch instead of retouch. So I'm going to get it as close as I can in camera because I'm not going to waste my time retouching 85 images or whatever I want to show them for them to purchase 30, because that's just a lot of wasted time. So I will send them away. I'll call the images. They come back after lunch or dinner, depending on the time of day. We sit down in the studio and they've got it knocked out in one day and they don't have to think about it anymore. It's no longer this thing on their list that's hanging over their head. And, you know, well, we were going to do it, but then now this bill came up, or now the car broke down, or now this and this, and it drags out. And the worst part is for you as a business owner, you're never going to get that wrapped up. Like, you've got to get it wrapped up in a timely manner. So my clients, the ones that, you know, they'll come back in for their in-person sales session, it's usually like a week later. And, you know, they come back and they drive and they'll make a day of it, especially if they live in a different town. They'll come in and they're like, oh, we love when we go to, you know, Winston-Salem because now we go out to eat downtown at this restaurant we like or whatever. And they make it an event. And it should be. It's exciting. It's fun for them. It's this big event in their lives where they get to come in and they get to pick all their stuff and they're excited about it. And so they make a day of it, and that's okay too. So you can do it either way, but I strongly, strongly encourage you. And I apologize, I get kind of passionate about this, but in-person sales is my jam. That's what I teach on. But I strongly encourage you to make that change. And then you are going to take care of all of your problems.
That's what I just need, that guidance. I need someone to be like, okay, Jessica, do this. This is what you have to do. I just need that push. So, like I said, I'm in the process. I'm redoing my home office. I'm, you know, trying to get everything set up for that reason. I was also a little iffy about when I lived in a small town. Of course, I knew everyone and I didn't care who came to my house. Well, now I live in Memphis. I'm kind of like, don't know who I want to come to my house and who I don't want to come to my house. But I also can't really afford the extra overhead at this time with having, you know, a meeting place.
Right.
Well, and you know, Jen and I are in completely different situations. I don't carry a studio overhead because I'm not, okay, aside from now where I'm forced to be home, I'm not home a lot of the year. I'm traveling everywhere, you know, I'm doing a lot of things. And so I'm just in your situation too, where having a studio overhead doesn't make sense for my business. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can't still offer the service to your clients. So what I've done in the past, and you know, that might change with what's going on in the world, but one of the things that I've done is you can essentially sell in their homes because and offer it as a service to them, where you frame it in a way, kind of going back on that mindset of framing it as a service to them, which it is, where if you are then coming into their homes and saying, you know, and here's what we'll do. We'll set up your image premiere. We'll see all your images. You guys don't have to worry about going anywhere after work. We'll sit down. You know, I usually bring them some sort of like snack or dessert, depending on what time of day it is, favorite Starbucks drinks, etc. And then what I do is I say, we'll sit down, and that way what we can do is we can actually design your whole entire portrait collection around your existing home decor, match sizes of, you know, their sister and brothers, senior photos so that everything's the exact same size, and offer it as a service to them. The other thing is, you know, as things start to open up and we'll have to do this in a smart way, We also have the option of meeting them in person at a coffee shop, doing at a Starbucks or something like that. You know, there have been times where I've sat at a Starbucks and taken a $3,500 order, and you know, they don't really care that it's in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Buy them their coffee, get them in the mindset that this is where we do it, and this is, you know, as long as it's normal to you, it's normal to them.
Right.
And then the last option, if you say, okay, well, we can't do either of those options because those aren't, you know, I don't want to drive an hour and a half. I don't want to do any, you know, if you have Memphis clients and say, I don't even want to drive across town, you've got Zoom. You've got virtual in-person sales tools that you can do slideshows, you can do wall designs, you can show them, you know, pick up an album and show them this is what it looks like, show them how thick the pages are in that album, show them the album design before it's all done. And so there are a multitude of tools out there that you can use. It's really, I think you're at the point where you just need to get into the mindset, like Jenn was talking about, that this is what you do. This is what your business does as a service. It's not a, you know, it's not a disadvantage to your clients for choosing you because they're forced to meet one other time. It's actually a service to them because they're going to get everything wrapped up sooner. They're going to have guidance, like Jenn was talking about, of doing exactly what they want. Because now what I say is, you know, I don't even let them do album designs on their own. I don't proof albums or anything because I say, you know what, it's so much easier if we do it here. You can actually just tell me exactly what you want moved around, and we'll knock this album out in about 10 minutes with what we need to change in refining the album process.
And Fundy.
Yeah, using Fundy.
I know.
Yep.
We were in that call last night with Sean. I'm also in Sean's senior academy group, and I use Smart Albums.
Well, that's okay. Like, Smart Albums is great too.
Yeah, but it doesn't have all of the stuff that Fundy does, and I'm like, dang, now I've got to switch to Fundy.
I might be able to help you out with a code on that. You should message me on Facebook. Okay.
Oh, yeah, they like Jenn better over at Fundy than they do.
I can help you out with that. The other thing I want to add on to what Sean was saying, Jessica, when he was talking about going and meeting them in their homes, I've done that as well. Before I had a studio, I met in my home if I knew the people or if they were like friends of friends, like if I felt comfortable. And if I didn't, I would meet them in public, or sometimes I would go to their home depending on just the situation and that kind of thing. When you go to their home, you can look at their walls. You can take a picture with your phone and show them what the gallery is going to look like on their walls. You can hold wall art up and say, this is what a 24 by 36 is, and this is what it would look like on your wall. The other benefit is you can find spaces that they never knew they needed wall art. If they'll let you look around a little bit, you're like, oh my gosh, have you ever thought about putting something here? This would be gorgeous for a gallery on this wall. And, you know, I've put things in people's home offices that they never thought about putting something in their home office. They would think in the living room or the foyer or something like that. And it always increases my sale if I can go. So I actually do an in-person consultation in my studio, but I offer every client, I offer to go to their home and help them measure and help them take photos so I can show them what it's going to look like on their wall and help them decide what's going to look best and where. I do that as a free service for my clients. I'm all seniors and I have a $4,000 sales average, but that's why, because I do that extra, you know, that extra thing. And my sales average is always higher if I can go to their home. So that's not a bad thing either. To, you know, say, hey, you've made the trip up here. I'll come to you for this and let me help you, you know, finish the process. But there's something to be said. Like my clients like hug me and thank me when they leave because they're like, it's so nice to be done with this. You know, it's so nice to be able to walk out after the ordering session and be finished and, you know, not have to think about it again. And I take care of everything else. I take care of the designing and the ordering, and they don't have to think about a thing until I deliver their products to them. So relieving them of that stress, because nobody in this world needs one more thing to have to do, you know. Absolutely. Nobody needs anything else on the to-do list, so that's a huge thing for them.
Okay.
Which, you know, kind of to bring it back around again, and I think we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but you know, along those same lines of, you know, the our topic today, which was about having the life you want led through your photography career and your life. Being able to spend the time to implement some of the things that these guys are talking about, and these guys have spent a lot of time, and Sean is sharing them, and Jenn is sharing those ideas with it. There are so many photographers out there who are not using the IPS method. The in-person sales method is such a more difficult deep dive for for photographers, new and old, myself included, getting people to come to your house, meeting them in Starbucks. When I used to do wedding consultations, I used to hate going to their house because it was like you never could leave. Once you're in their house, those meetings were like 4 hours long. They had no place to go, right? So I hated it. I would lug these albums around in these 2 backpacks. And finally, when I got my own studio, I didn't have to do that anymore. But they would always spend more when I went to their house. So, if you could take 5 less clients, 5 less things shooting, add another 10, 15, 20, $100,000 to your bottom line, that extra work is going to give you the life that you want, right?
Right.
And it is a process that does take some time. So many photographers abandon the method that is in place, that you really have to be disciplined to do it. But that's business in general. And did we lose Jessica? I was just
Erica. I think she just logged out. Yeah.
I mean Erica. Sorry. Anyway. Sorry, Jessica. I was getting to you as well, but
no, you're fine.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
She's back.
She's back. There you are. You're back. You have to, Erica. I muted you. You have to unmute yourself. Sorry, if you want to talk. All right. Who's good at lip reading? Anyway, we were gonna wrap up. So I once again, look forward to you implementing on that, and I'm actually going to follow up with you in the future to see how you're doing, because I'm curious, and we have such a great community here that are willing to help each other and willing to be there for each other. And
I unmuted me.
There you are.
What did you want me to say?
I just wanted to say that, we were talking about living your own life through photography and using those in-person sales as a way to better your life and give you the life that you want. And that's what Sean was talking to us about here. And, it sounds like you have also have done a lot of those things in your life as well.
Yes.
Cool. I think my camera battery finally died. So we definitely have to wrap up. Yeah, I'm gone. So I switched the screen, so it's just you guys. Sean, thank you for being on here today. Jessica and Erica and Jen, thank you guys for being on here today. I appreciate you sharing with us. Sean is available as a mentor on the group and a coach on the group. I'm going to put it up here on screen. This is what it looks like, and just to give you a quick demonstration for those of you who haven't been on the Groupp website. When you come on the site, it's a really simple process of finding who you want to be as a coach on the Groupp. You simply find it, and you'll see this stuff here. All you have to do, you'll see his schedule right here. He's available on Mondays all day, and
you're not screen sharing, I don't think, Jason.
I'm not.
Or are you? Because I don't see it.
It might be on YouTube.
No,
if he's using
on
OBS.
YouTube, yeah.
I'm watching YouTube.
It's type. The words are going up.
Okay. There is a little bit of a delay. I can see it. I can see it's on YouTube now. So, and then, all I can, Eli, if you're watching, yes, you can go back on your Xbox. Sorry, buddy. And then you just go to the booking page, you find the date that's available, and you do it that way. So anyway, if anyone has any questions on that, you can easily do that, and you can book a 1-hour session. Sometimes they're 90 minutes. It's there for you on demand anytime you want it, and is a great way for you to dip your toes into some of the people that are on there. So, you can schedule a call with, Sean has tons and tons of stuff that he does. You can get to know Sean by booking a coaching call with him, or many of the other instructors that are on there. We have everything from weddings to seniors to, whatever you want. So thank you guys for being on here. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And, we'll see you on the podcast. We have Andrew Funderburg and Keisha Lambert coming up. And, everyone, thank you for giving us your time. I know how important it is. And nice meeting both of you.
You too.
Yes. All right.
Thanks so much for having me on,
All
Jason.
right.
Thank
Yes. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for being on Groupp's Group. Guys, don't go anywhere.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. End.
Are we safe?
Yes.